You're listening to Nightmare on Film Street. The current time is 6:66. Traffic is clear ahead from here to the afterlife, but it's hell outside. For the next hour, you're on Nightmare time. So, let's give a grave welcome to our hosts, John and Kim.
Hello again, fiends, and welcome to Nightmare on Film Street, horror for the casually obsessed. I'm Kim.
I'm John.
And this week, we are celebrating Mother's Day with John Waters' Serial Mom.
Yeah, what a great little kooky movie to lead into Mother's Day with. I think we've talked about Inside, we've talked about Revenge, we've covered a lot of mommy mayhem movies before. This one's way kitschier than the rest of them, and just so much fun.
I mean, that's what you get with John Waters. You are signing on board for, like, picture-perfect suburbia in all the wrong ways. And Serial Mom is just become, like, a Mother's Day staple on television. I don't know if I had seen this whole movie before.
Without commercial breaks?
No, I don't think I've seen the whole movie before, but I've seen the whole film and probably over 7 different Mother's Days.
This was a big TBS watch, yeah.
Yes!
Yeah. It's fun to hear you talk about John Waters being like, oh, it's what you get with, like, fun suburbia stuff. And, like, the only thing I think of when I think of John Waters is, like, the Midnight Madness movies that you just would not show anyone in your family.
People don't watch the early career stuff, John. That's just you.
Oh, you gotta check out the early career stuff. It's so weird and crazy.
See, I live in that studio John Waters sphere.
Yeah, the late 80s, early 90s
Basically
stuff.
This and Crybaby.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, I mean, there are definitely eras of John Waters, and this is
Hairspray.
This is the one you could show your mom. This and Hairspray. Hairspray was huge.
Your mom showed you Hairspray.
Yeah, my family.
I didn't mean your mom. I meant your as the global mom.
Oh, okay, I got it. Okay, I was gonna say my family a little bit different. Yeah, like my parents have been making me watch John Waters movies my whole life.
Yeah, but your mom is weirdly cool in that way.
Yeah,
she was definitely pro John Waters. I wouldn't be surprised if she had a poster of him in her bedroom.
Well, but for anybody who's unfamiliar with John Waters and with Serial Mom, Kim, you want to give us 3 good things about this damn movie?
So I'm gonna take point 1. And I'm going to be really vague with it because I do want to do a whole ass segment on this later in the podcast. Mm-hmm. But my point 1 is going to be maximum camp. This movie is fun from start to finish, and it's very self-aware in all of the right ways. It's hyper real in the way that camp is, which we'll get into. But the fun factor is, like, at the top of the... what do you call it? The thermostat?
The camposphere?
The thermostat.
Okay.
The mercury is exploding out of the top of the thermometer in a Looney Tunes cartoon style way.
I was actually curious how long it would take for us to mention Looney Tunes in this podcast recording. I knew it was going to come up within 10 minutes. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't say it, I was going to say it.
It's because there's so many anvils in this movie? What are you getting at?
Yeah, anvils, stuff from the Acme Corporation. Yeah, people, taking holes off the ground and just...
We're right in a segment where we're recommending this movie to people who haven't seen it, so I don't know if this is going to make any sense to people.
Honestly, maximum camp is probably all you have to say for anybody our age who hasn't seen a movie like this before. They're sold. I think kids today get camp more than previous generations.
I don't know.
My number 2 good thing is very simple. Death by leg of lamb.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool deaths in this movie and a lot of inspired deaths. But the most inspired death is when Serial Mom puts down the butcher knife, because that's standard fare. And
it's old hat at this point.
Leg of lamb. Bone in.
You need it. And number 3, the movie's loaded with fun cameos. We'll get into some of them, but I think the best one is probably John Waters cameoing as Ted Bundy.
Yeah, it's really brief. It's just in a recorded phone call that Evelyn's husband finds.
Personalized message to Kathleen Turner.
Love it. Hi, this is Ted Bundy. I love that he introduces himself as Ted Bundy.
Yeah, it's eight days until my execution. Like, if there was ever a serial killer that John Waters was going to play in a biopic, it would not be Ted Bundy. They look nothing alike.
Well, and also he wasn't even trying to do a voice.
No, he's just doing John Waters.
which is maybe very camp.
Okay, well, let's throw to the trailer, and we'll come back with some ratings, and Kim can explain to us what the fuck camp is.
I'm ready. Honey, you're hot tonight. and a suspected murderer.
Oh, kids, are you doing your homework?
How did America's #1 mom turn into one of America's most wanted? Is she really guilty?
Are you a serial killer? Chip, the only cereal I know anything about is Rice Krispies.
Is she the only one with a motive?
Believe that damn litter bugger. Give her a happy face.
Or is there someone else
I'm stood up. I'll kill that jerk.
with an axe to grind?
No, I'll never get a boyfriend.
Meanwhile, this small Baltimore suburb keeps getting smaller and smaller.
It's been a crazy day, hasn't it?
Savoy Pictures asks the burning question,
Is your wife mental?
or is she serial mom?
Cool. Is she in a band?
Kathleen Turner, Sam Waterston, and Ricky Lake. Serial mom. Every woman wants to be wanted. Just not for Murder One.
Beverly, I've read all about this. Is it menopause?
At a 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb, 63% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 3.7 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Also made a heartbreaking $7.8 million at the box office against a $13 million budget. But honestly,
I love that for this movie.
I think Hairspray is the only movie John Waters has ever made that's been financially successful at the theater.
John Waters movies are not supposed to make money. They're supposed to find their life now. They're supposed to find their life in parents' basements. Like, why do we have this on DVD, or why do we have this on VHS? And you blow off the VCR. Like, that's how you're supposed to discover a John Waters movie.
That is always a fun mystery to find out about your family when you find a movie like a John Waters film. Let's say you're at your house and you're looking through VHS tapes and you find Pink Flamingos or Female Trouble or something, and you're like, oh my god, this is so great. I would have never found this movie on my own, and it really speaks to me. And then you have to ask yourself, why the fuck did my parents buy this?
Yeah.
How is this in their life? I don't know anything about my family anymore.
That's a lot better than finding a copy of Chicks with Dicks under your dad's bed. That didn't happen to me. It's just referencing something that happened in the movie.
It's a gag in the movie. It's pretty funny, yeah. So Kim, everyone out there, hello. Welcome to Kim's Camp Corner. You want to explain to us maximum
No,
camp?
that's not what this corner is about. This corner is about, let's definitively figure out what the fuck camp is, because I think you and I have both had a bit of a existential camp crisis in the last couple of years, because Gen Z thinks everything is fucking camp.
Yeah, I think it's because the hipster irony of everything that sort of tainted pop culture for a few years has phased into camp, and there's just like a level of irony. So now if something is intentionally bad, it's considered camp.
Well, and I think because we're doing this like cyclical thing now, because we're in the roaring 20s, and we're just doing, we're doing the modern era again, like we're past, circas and recorded time. Like we've caught up to video footage that exists that you can understand and decipher. So yeah. I think everything from this point on is going to be like self-referential in a way.
Unfortunately.
And so the definition of camp, I think, has to evolve, and everything can't be camp.
I agree. And pretty often you say something is camp, and I wholeheartedly disagree with you, and then vice versa.
Okay, well, I'm always right when I call something camp.
Okay, yeah. But let's just say this. Best example, I don't think Megan, the movie, is camp.
That was the weirdest one for me, when everybody was like coming out with their, 16-word letterbox reviews, and camp was in all of them.
Yeah. There's like, oh, it's so silly that she does, it is silly that the robot's wearing sunglasses and stuff, but like, I don't think it's high level camp. Kim, explain camp to me,
well,
please.
And she does a quirky dance, but I think it's in the vein of, TikTok is cool right now and everybody's doing a stupid dance, not that like dancing is camp.
Yeah, but if you think that dance is stupid and you seriously put it in your movie, camp? ?
I guess, because like Grease is camp. But
is Grease? So here's my question. This is where I really need to draw a line in the sand here. Is it camp or is it kitsch? Camp
and kitsch are cousins, John. They are kissing cousins.
I know, but at the time that Grease came out, I think that's kitsch. I don't think it's trying to really.
Yeah, but Serial Mom is camp and kitsch.
Okay, no, okay. This is where I think we can get it. Beauty School Dropout. Camp.
Camp.
The rest of Grease,
Camp.
kitsch.
Oh, no, because in the end of the movie, they fly off in the car.
Okay, fine. They end on a
That's camp.
punctuation dot of camp, but the rest of the movie is kitsch. Like the whole carnival, kitsch. Driving off into the sunset, maybe dying, camp.
So camp then.
Yeah.
It's camp and kitsch.
I think we came here with an expectation
Grease 2
that
what is Grease 2?
Grease 2 is camp. I think we came here with an expectation, and by we I mean me and the listeners. We want you to explain to us camp.
Okay, so I prepared for this segment by getting a definition of camp.
Thank you.
But then I'm going to give you my personal definition of camp.
Uh-huh.
And I think it really relates to Serial Mom as a movie, like bringing it back, because obviously this is John Waters. It's got camp in its bones.
Yes.
It's like camp for bones.
Okay.
That is the skeleton from which the muscles grew.
And explain to me the structure and the nerve endings that are the
that's where kitsch comes in.
Okay.
Okay.
Is kitsch not the apron that you wear on top of the skeleton?
It is. It's the little corn cobs on Marge's kitchen curtains.
All right. Zap me up that definition of camp.
Okay, camp is an aesthetic, style, and sensibility that regards something as appealing because of its bad taste and ironic value.
Mm-hmm.
Camp aesthetics disrupt many of modernism's notions of what art is and what can be classified as high art by inverting aesthetic attributes such as beauty, value, and taste through an invitation of a different kind of apprehension and consumption.
Oh, boy.
So it's like fucking irony is art.
Yeah, it is. It did just hit me in the head like a Looney Tune anvil.
Oh, camp can also be a social practice and function as a style and performance identity for several types of entertainment, including film, cabaret, and pantomime.
You know, hearing somebody, not you, the person who wrote that, hearing somebody describe a thing you like zaps all the fun out of it, which makes me very
like, get it out of that microscope.
Yeah, it does not make me feel good about the rest of this episode.
Yeah. So what I think camp is I think it's self-referential in a way. It's looking at the world removed. Like, you know, you've lifted the fourth wall off the diorama, and you've made the diorama of the room you're in, and nothing is really changed all that much, but you've taken all of the meaning out of it. I think what camp is like almost, and I think we're going to see it a lot now because we're in this weird AI revolution, and I'm getting deep here, John.
Yeah, okay.
Is that it's uncanny valley. It's like, you've zapped all of the human purpose and meaning out of everything, and it's just everything is presented at face value. So you're like, oh, this is art because it exists. I don't know. Where am I going here?
No, okay, so can I just take what you've said and then filter it through my AI brain
and
tell you what I heard?
I've got more things to say on the AI thing.
It's like if you got abducted by aliens.
Yes, I was going to say aliens, but I thought that might be too weird.
And
if
the aliens
made art of humanity, it's single female lawyer from Futurama. That is camp.
Okay, yeah. So if aliens abducted you and dropped you into a room but didn't want you to think you were on a spaceship, and they wanted you to believe you were still on Earth, but everything was just a little different and wrong.
Exactly. Uncanny valley, because we recognize human faces and things, and that's what uncanny valley means. It's the weird human ability to find, you know, humanity and everything. And camp is kind of using, I guess, that like lizard brain part of yourself that you're like, oh, everything in this room looks normal, but why is everything so intentional?
Yeah.
And I think that's what's weird about AI and AI art and all of that stuff. And I think we're really going to experience it now because corporations are definitely going to use AI for their copy and, you know, like their script writing and all of that. So art is soon going to be all like, hopefully not all. That's the pessimistic look. They're definitely going to use it though. So like, let's be real.
Kim's coming in here standing with the WGA. Get the AIs out of the writing room.
I'm all for using AI as a tool. Like, it's the new robot, but like, but yeah, so camp is, I think, is the absence of meaning. It's taking everything out of it that art would inject into it. Like if you were to make something and it's supposed to have all of this higher meaning and attribute all of this value to it, and you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm learning so much about the artist and la 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 la. Camp is recreating that painting, you know, at 2 a.m. with your toes.
With zero intention.
You know what I mean? That's what camp is.
Okay.
At least to me.
At least to you. Okay.
I was going to say a great example based on what we were talking about with the UFO thing is that scene in Scooby-Doo, the live action film, where the aliens are infiltrating the teenagers and they break into that haunted castle. And there's all of those videos
of them
pretending to be humans.
Yes. Yeah, right.
That's what camp looks and feels like.
Are they aliens in that movie?
They're demons, whatever.
They're monsters. It doesn't matter. Let's move on, John. Why did you derail the podcast? Yeah, no, I think I really hung on to what you said there about walking into a room and everything having like incredible intention behind it, but something being off. It is kind of like walking into your neighbor's house, behind a beautiful white picket fence and seeing everything placed so perfectly, and it smells of crisp lemon cleaner, and you're like, everything about this is right, but something is wrong.
Yeah, what's that movie? Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser
sure.
and Christopher Walken.
Camp or Kitsch?
Both.
That's such a bullshit answer. Camp
is kitsch. Kitsch can be camp, but camp encompasses kitsch.
15 minutes in, we've only talked about camp and kitsch.
This is a big topic. But yeah, in Blast from the Past, Christopher Walken's this crazy character who thinks like the world's going to end in an atomic blast, which it does in this film. And he recreates a like 50s nostalgia entire house with, AstroTurf lawn and the deck chairs and everything in a bunker underground. And like, that is camp. It's literally the recreation somewhere else. Also, if you add the atomic age and you add nuclear families and the 50s aesthetic, like that is kitchen camp in their natural habitat.
Yeah, you're really onto something there.
Is there anything that you would like to add to my camp segment?
I would like to say that I have learned a lot today.
Thank you. How I'm going to relate this to Serial Mom, though.
And moving on, I had nothing else to say.
So this entire segment has purpose, is that's what I really love about John Waters' films, especially his studio entries, because there's some irony in that alone. The fact that studios are giving him millions of dollars to make these movies that are essentially more or less about nothing. Not about nothing, but don't really have necessarily a higher intention behind them.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'd say Hairspray is definitely a very subversive movie for a studio movie. But yeah, something like Crybaby and Serial Mom, and maybe it's just leaning harder into kitsch than kitchen camp.
Well, that's what I think is so great about John Waters' films. The act of rebellion isn't the subject matter like you think it would be, because it's, he used drag performers and he had cross-dressing and such, especially in Hairspray. But it isn't saying anything in regards to those subcultures. It's just the fact that they exist, and they exist in that film. Like, that's where the rebellion is. The rebellion is that this normal exists.
Yeah.
Like the camp and the camp and the kitsch of Serial Mom is that this movie just exists unironically. It isn't played satirically. It's played pretty straight as a film. Like, you can watch this beginning to end and pretend it is about a real case, apart from like the fact that the deaths are so absurd.
Yeah, no, it's not really pointing any fingers at anybody. It's just holding a mirror, Kim, to the society. Like, he is just essentially saying like, this is what America is, and he's not being pointed about it or anything. It's just
I mean, I think you're attributing that to the film. I don't know if that's necessarily the film's intention.
You don't think the movie is like absurdly intentionally obsessed with true crime, and like especially like late afternoon talk show true crime of the late 80s, early 90s? Because like literally like characters are just putting down Newsweek articles that are clearly about like the Waco, I think it's Waco, Texas, but it's just like every time you see any bit of pop culture, it's daytime TV, because that's just like what women in that are taking care of a house watch, and it's always about somebody being murdered or about mass suicides or anything.
I mean, I think that we're coming at it though with a retrospective look. This movie came out before any of the OJ stuff. It came out before the huge true crime surge. Like, yes, there was like Joan Rivers with like, I'm married to a man in prison
who's in this fucking movie.
And I think that's all well and good, and I think sure it's using that stuff as commentary, but I don't know if it's making necessarily the comment.
No, that's just the character.
You were adding the comment. Like, and that's what's camp about it.
Okay, all right. I mean, like, I don't think he's like, I'm gonna make a movie that exposes America's obsession with death. I think he just like made a character who has all of that. I mean, like, I think the thing that I like the most about the movie is that the grossest people in the movie are the quote-unquote normal people. You know, like just your average suburban housewife and husband, like people eating chicken. It's the grossest scene in the entire fucking movie. Watching people eat a chicken dinner. It's one of the grossest things I've seen in like 5 years. And like we watch a lot of gross movies that thoroughly disgusted me watching them eat that chicken skin.
Yeah, there's clips of Blood Feast in this.
Yeah, there's clips of Blood Feast, people pulling out tongues and stuff, and it's all fun. That's all kitsch. The truly one of the most horrifying moments of this entire film is a woman who comes home to watch Annie on VHS.
Oh God.
Makes herself a goddamn sandwich from that leg of lamb and then gets her dog to lick her feet and like really loves it. She's like, yeah, that's right, get him wet. And you're like, oh fuck, it's disgusting. And they're the normal people in the movie. They're the people who are like, ew, you shouldn't be watching your disgusting horror films. All of those people in this movie are totally well balanced and well-meaning people, except for maybe Serial Mom, who murders a couple of people here and there.
Yeah, and I think that's the case with all of John Waters' films, is that they, you know, like, it's always about, like, look at the squares, they're weirder than we are. Do you think it's actually saying anything? Do you think it's trying to say anything? I think the point is that, like, she doesn't, like, the world doesn't get justice. Serial Mom gets out.
Well, yeah, if it's trying to say anything, it's that the criminal is the new celebrity, or is the celebrity again. I don't know that it's saying, like, we've always been obsessed with this, but I mean, like, yeah, there's a legacy of bank robbers becoming, like, folk heroes. Whether or not they get put to death or just convicted to life imprisonment, like, we're constantly talking about people like Ted Bundy and Charles Manson. I think he's just having a laugh. Like, I'll say this. I agree
with having a laugh.
It's not.
That's
it's
as
not,
far as I'll go.
It's not making a huge comment, but it's having a laugh at the normal people's obsession with true crime, despite, you know, telling everybody that porno and horror movies are disgusting and you should go to hell for watching them. But yeah, it's having a laugh at it more than anything else.
Yeah, I think we should handshake there.
Okay. What are some of your favorite deaths in the movie?
So I love everything about the murders in this film, and especially like the transgressions. I was reading a bunch of interviews with John Waters before we started recording, and he's like, the whole point of this movie is that, you know, everybody wants to kill somebody, but they just don't.
Yeah.
And he's like, I fucking hate gum chewing.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like, these are my own things. It's like, so we're living through Serial Mom and her actually getting to murder these people for these like petty fucking things, like wearing white after Labor Day.
Yeah. Things that you see people go off the fucking rails about when they really shouldn't.
What are you talking about? These are big deals.
Okay, all right.
The one that really resonated with me the most was the neighbor not sorting her trash and
she's
just
sorting
like
her trash like a
raw
friggin'
dogging
idiot.
it into the trash can.
Doesn't she know an aluminum can will last 95 years in a landfill?
Yes, and Evelyn and the garbage men all just like looking at her in complete disgust.
Yeah, don't you love that Evelyn's friends with the garbage men?
I do. That's maybe one of my favorite things about the movie.
Yeah, you had a very fun moment where she rolls out, comes with some singles, like I guess like scotch or whiskey or something.
Do you call them singles? Isn't it a
single
dollar
shot?
bill that you?
It's a single shot of alcohol.
I would say like a mini.
She comes out with a tiny little mini hotel room bar-sized amount of alcohol for the garbage men, and they just sit and talk shit about her neighbor. And you were like, this is me when I grow up,
That's
guaranteed.
my dream, is just to talk petty with the garbage men about who recycles and who doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be the queen of the garbage gossip.
She's a very high-functioning woman for being such a crazed murderer. Like, in terms of the white picket fence world, she's in the house, she's just dancing to the radio, sorting glass from plastics and everything.
What I love most about it, and what you're expecting going into it, is that there isn't, like, this moment where she cracks, and she just becomes, you know, like, she was this perfect housewife, and then she became this murderer.
Yeah.
We join her when she's antagonizing one of the neighbors, because she stole her parking spot and sending her threatening letters and phone calls with like all of these crazy obscenities. She's this other woman already when we join her.
Yeah.
And it's part of who she is. Like, her husband finds these books that she's been hiding secretly.
Well, she's been a pen pal, or at least was a pen pal with Ted Bundy back in the 70s.
Yeah, and she's like at night they're in their bed, you know, like couples with each of their own side lamps, and she's reading a book about birds, but actually tucked inside is like a novel about serial killers.
Yeah.
And so like she is this person. She has these interests and these hobbies. Like one would argue she's a bit of a nut, but this is who she is. She didn't crack. She didn't become like, she didn't one day after years and years of watching her neighbor put recycling in the garbage can. Like we see it 2 times and she's like, I'm gonna fucking kill her.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, it's making like that everything about her personality is just making their sex life better. She's fucking crazy after she kills her son's math teacher.
I love how blatant she murders people. Like, he is murdered right after the parent-teacher meeting out in public. Like,
on school property,
only
yeah.
a stoner sees it, so she's very lucky. But there is no attempt to hide her crimes, to disguise her weapons. Even, like, she gets blood on her windshield. She gets blood on her shoes when she stabs the boyfriend who leaves Ricky Lake.
Yo,
like,
more than just getting blood on her shoes, she uses her friend, the shitty neighbor who can't figure out how to recycle, steals her fireplace poker that she got at a flea market, kills a dude in the bathroom, and then does not wipe off the blood on that fire poker before bringing it back.
But she did flush the urinal.
That's just polite. Fun little, I don't know if this is a fun fact or too dark for the podcast. Do you know most movies that John Waters has made have a scene where somebody gets hit by a car? I mean, that's just fun.
I was actually surprised at the amount of like car stunt work in this.
Okay, so
there is a lot of like really cool turning onto suburban roads.
Oh yeah, no. For a minute, I really wanted to believe that Kathleen Turner was actually doing the runaway sequence in that panel van. Just like, wow, she can really drive.
There was some real e-braking happening.
This is maybe a dark story, but
oh no,
John Waters, when he first moved out to LA,
was he hit by a car?
Accidentally killed somebody with
oh
his car.
God!
But it's like totally not his fault. Somebody witnessed it. They were there. Like, it's not like he was high. He wasn't drunk or anything. It was very unfortunate, very sad. An old man just sort of like stepped out into the road and he accidentally hit him with his car. And since then, if you go back and watch John Waters movies, there's almost always a shot of somebody getting hit by a car, and also they're like, ah! Reactions shot through the windshield. And I've read a bunch of John Waters books. He's a great writer, and he's talked about it.
Is this him working through his trauma?
Pretty much. Like, he's like any other auteur out there. He's like, there's an image in my mind that I just have to get on camera. Yeah, no, of course. Like, that's just something that he's always been working on. But it's in Polyester. It's in Crybaby. Like, it's in every fucking movie when you see it. It's just so interesting that to think about John Waters having darkness in him that he has to work out.
But also not using it like every time somebody's killed in one of his movies, it's kind of used for yucks.
Oh, always.
Which it's so weird that he's using it to like personally get out his own demons.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like my stomach hurts now.
Yeah. Well, like I said,
thanks, John.
It might be too dark for the podcast. I might just take it out. In my mind, I was like, "Oh, this is a fun fact that I just know about John." Okay,
no, it is a fun fact.
I can soften the blow with. I have read him talking about his being obsessed with car accidents as a child, like a little kid. The way kids.
That's camp.
The way. Wait till you hear the rest of it. The way that kids play with cars, he would play car accidents. Like he would just play cars getting into accidents and people dying, and then the ambulance showing up and people crying and stuff. And his mom would take him to the junkyard and they would just walk around looking at smashed up cars. And he'd just be like, he just talked about like some of his earliest memories of him walking around with his like really not uptight but like upper middle class mother in like probably looks like fucking Kathleen Turner and Serial Mom, just walking him through the junkyard so he can look at all the smashed up car accident vehicles.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, even in Female Trouble, there's a whole sequence where Mink Stoll plays Divine's daughter, and she's playing car accident where she like has a bottle of ketchup and she's like spraying blood everywhere and stuff.
How Wednesday Addams of her.
Yeah.
What other weird shit do you know about this movie and or John Waters?
I know tons of weird shit about John Waters, but like just like giving that I mentioned Divine a second ago, you know, Divine, arguably say John Waters' muse, died tragically way before her time. Who do you think Divine would have played in this movie?
The female cop.
The female cop? Like the really tight cameo where it's like... where
Mink Stoll has to say pussy to her? Yes.
She's way gruffer and way more masculine than the actual cop who's there interviewing her. It's so fucking funny. Don't worry, you're safe. No one's gonna harm you. What did they say to you? funny as shit. I would have assumed maybe possibly her neighbor who can't recycle. That was my thought. That also seems like an Edith Massey character. Another John Waters. Sorry, I'm seeing a blank face across the table from me here.
I'm sorry, I don't know all of John Waters' regular players.
I'm not pulling out deep cuts here. I mean, you've seen Polyester. She kind of talks like this. She's obsessed with eggs and pink flamingos. Okay, anyway, don't worry about it.
You're doing a great job.
We'll move on. We had not actually spent a ton of time talking about Kathleen Turner, though, right? We recently watched a fucking movie with Kathleen Turner that is just so fucking bizarre that I don't know any goddamn thing about her anymore.
Honestly, we've seen a few movies with her in the last couple of years. Do you remember that, like, high school, going back to it was like 20-year reunion at her high school?
With Kathleen Turner.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the one with Nicolas Cage where she goes back in time? Is that what it is?
I think so, yes.
Something Betty Sue?
Yes. Yes.
Fuck, I don't remember the title.
Either way, Kathleen Turner makes choices with the movies she makes. And, and I honestly, I really only knew her from this.
Okay. I thought you were going to say as the voice of Malibu Stacy.
And that too.
And that too.
But she's a very interesting woman just based on, I don't know anything about her, but just based on the roles she has chosen.
Oh, yeah. We talked about it in a Fiend Club episode where we just sort of do a roundup, catch up of movies that we've been watching, what's been keeping us creepy. And we watched a erotic thriller with Kathleen Turner called Crimes of Passion.
Okay, to call it an erotic thriller is a very bold statement.
I mean, this movie also has Anthony Perkins. It's directed by, forgot his name now, but that guy that directed The Devils and The Lair of the White Worm. Ken Russell. There we go. It is
weird.
Crazy. Kathleen Turner essentially plays a woman who's pretending to be a sex worker in the 80s.
She's not pretending. She moonlights as a sex worker.
But there's literally a scene where she gets $100 bill from somebody and then just sticks her gum in it and puts it in the trash. This is just her
just because
kink.
she doesn't use the money doesn't mean she's not getting the money.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, she makes choices. I still got to get you to watch Body Heat. That's a classic sort of detective film noir-y type erotic thriller. She's great in it, but she's definitely got
spunk.
She's got spunk. Okay, I was gonna say that she's got. I was gonna say she's got spunk. That's exactly what I was gonna say. You really nailed the head on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, Kathleen Turner's great. She's amazing in this. She's got that Lauren Bacall smoky voice. That's just killer.
I mean, that's just her voice.
That is just her voice, but she is perfect casting for this movie because she looks like she would be typecast as
the Stepford wife mom.
The Stepford wife mom.
Yeah, and she's
Leave It to
great
Beaver
as
mom.
it.
Yeah.
She has the perfect expressive eyes and the open, the when she's looking at the starlings, she's got a glitter in her eye.
But you would not be surprised to find out that there's darkness hiding in there, right?
She can do the darkness.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. All of the murders in this movie are great, and they don't really feel planned out. They're just
because they aren't planned out.
Okay, well I guess they're not planned out. That might have something to do with it. Yeah. I thought you were gonna say that your favorite murder was when she just up and leaves the middle of dinner to go murder somebody across town, but does take a minute to leave a note saying went to the store, Mom.
I love that.
Yeah, no, that's a good little fake out moment because you think she's going to go kill her son's best friend because he's got suspicions about her as a murderer, but then she instead kills this gross couple across town who's just eating dessert and watching Wheel of Fortune.
And they made her husband work on a Saturday.
How fucking dare they? Keep that in mind next time you try and call somebody in for off-shift work. You might wind up murdered by that person's spouse.
So there's one thing that I found kind of cool, and this isn't the biggest revelation of all time. I'm sure everybody watching the movie had this thought, but I just wanted to bring it up because, if we don't, somebody's going to tweet at us and be like, why didn't you say this about Matthew Lillard? One, Matthew Lillard's fucking great, so that's that covered. Don't tweet at us. He's fucking great. But isn't it kind of cool that young teenage Matthew Lillard's at a movie store being a horror fan, talking about horror movies and being horror obsessed. And then his most kind of known film for this time period in his career is Scream.
Yeah.
What a nice little warm-up for Matthew Lillard.
I was actually going to ask you who you thought was a better video store clerk, Matthew Lillard in Serial Mom or Jamie Kennedy in Scream. That was my one big, don't look at the spreadsheet. I've got this question lined up to ask you.
Randy Meeks, obviously, because it gets used as one of the biggest plot devices of Scream.
Yeah, but I mean, as a video store clerk, if I had to get anybody to recommend me a movie, I'd be choosing Matthew Lillard.
Well, that's the thing, though, is Randy works at a corporate video store. He is at, the Blockbuster video store.
Of course he's got some anger behind him.
Matthew Lillard, he looks like he's at a mom and pop. The stuff isn't even in plastic cases. It's still in the cardboard case. Secret VHS wall where they hide serial killers behind it. This is my kind of video store.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I really think that.
They definitely have one of those gumball machines where, if you get the tinfoil one or, the white gumball, you get a free tape.
Yeah.
That happened to me once. It was the biggest prize I have ever
Can
won.
I ask you a question about that? Because
Yes, it was at the video store where your mom worked.
No, that's not what I was... That pisses me off even more. Do you know how many fucking quarters I sunk into that? Trying to get the goddamn free rental, even though I mostly got free rentals at that store. No, what I wanted to know... and
John was the video store elite.
This is the... I only had to pay for the
okay.
protection on the disc. As long as you buy the insurance, we'll let you rent it for free.
What was the insurance, a nickel?
It was less than $1, I think, yeah.
I want to tell you a secret about the bookstore I worked at. This was a corporate bookstore. We could take the books home as long as we brought them back in great condition. We didn't have to buy them or anything.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, we could just take them home.
You could just take them home and read them.
Like books that we were selling.
Wow. Do we? It's been is there a statute of limitations on this? Can't we just say it was Chapters Indigo that you worked at? It's basically Canada's Barnes and Noble.
It might have just been our store though. I don't know.
What are they gonna do? Pull
the
books open and figure out when you worked and who your manager was and call them up and fire them?
But yeah, it was there was just a clipboard in the staff room where we would just write.
Wow.
And there was no supervision. You didn't have to go to a manager or anything.
So they're as long as you don't break the spine, you can put it back on the shelf.
Yeah. And
I would have killed at this store.
Nobody supervised it. So even if you did fold a page a little bit, you'd back into the shelf. And then you would just cross off the book you had taken out. It was all self-policed.
I love this.
Yeah.
Okay, well my question's stupid because I already know the answer, but it's...
That's camp.
Yeah. As a kid, I was always worried that if I got that gumball that said I got a free rental, I wouldn't also get to eat the gumball.
That was your concern?
I was fat.
That gum was gross.
Yeah.
You were always sad when you got the gum.
I like that gum.
It was hollow in the middle, but really hard to chew through.
Yep. It's a good gumball. Kept me entertained for at least half an hour.
And they never cleaned out that swirly
Absolutely
slide
not.
that it went down.
You could see dust in it. That's why the gumball came with the hard schlack edge, and you just give it a quick little wipe on your sweater.
Nobody wiped it.
Nobody wiped it.
And you grab it with your grubby little fingers before it falls on the floor because the flap that's holding it in is too loose.
Half the time it would fall on that floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Video stores. Let's bring them back.
Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about question mark wise?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I did want to quickly shout out L7 as the band that performs in the middle of this movie.
You wrote that down and I was like, who is L7?
L7 has the best needle drop in Pet Sematary 2, a movie that has 100 great needle drops. You know that song Shit List?
Ah!
That's L7, baby, playing Camel Lips, the band, here, performing a full-ass concert at 1 p.m. on a Sunday in Serial Mom.
Yeah, it's right after church, which is, you know what? I'm not going to argue with it.
Right? It's, again, Baltimore sounds great.
Good choice.
Yeah, there's a shit ton
They're
of
really
cameos
steady.
in this movie.
They're really sweaty for 1 p.m. though. I just don't think it's appropriate to be that sweaty. Sure, rock out, but
okay, last point to maybe...
So don't work too hard. It's Sunday.
Last point to maybe tie in the fact that this movie's true crime obsessed.
It's having a laugh at true crime obsession.
Okay, well, juror number 8, the final victim of this movie, that Serial Mom
Is that
kills,
the white after Labor Day?
That's the woman who keeps wearing white shoes after Labor Day, is played by Patty Hearst.
Who's that?
God damn it, Kim. Okay, well, Patty Hearst was
I didn't even know who Suzanne Summers was, and she was a huge cameo in this, so I was like, ah!
Well, thank God they said that they liked her work in Three's Company, otherwise we would not have been able to figure that out on our own. Yeah, no, Patty Hearst was kidnapped by a radical group in the 70s and then made to rob banks. She was a controversial figure in the 70s as far as the true crime circuit goes. Like, she was a wealthy, well-to-do family girl who gets kidnapped. And then the argument there is whether or not she was kidnapped and made to do things she didn't want to do, whether or not she got Stockholm Syndrome, whether or not she actively ran away from home and joined this fringe group, yada, yada, yada. It really dominated the circuit and kind of ruined her life. And then because of it, she became good friends with John Waters.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, one, that's a very fun inclusion and a nice little Easter egg. But John Waters collects criminals like collector cards. He loves, criminals and fringe people. He just loves fringe people. Like, I mean, he talked to, like, a bunch of the Manson girls. He talks to.
I wouldn't even say he talks to. He is an advocate for Leslie Van Houten. He's been trying to get her paroled for a long time. You got to check out this book that John Waters wrote called Role Models, which is basically just about him and a bunch of cool people that he's interviewed, people that he either looked up to or he thought were role models of America and stuff. That's a great book. I mean, honestly, he's got a few books that you should absolutely check out. His writing is just as good as his filmmaking. But I think that probably wraps up our discussion on Serial Mom. Kim, why
do you think he had Patty Hearst in the movie?
Well, because he'd become friends with Patty Hearst. I think John Waters across the board is obsessed with people that America considers trash. Like, he's known as the grandfather of filth is what people call him.
That's a great name.
Right?
What a great title.
Leans into
I would wear that with pride.
He does. So, I mean, yeah, he's obsessed with, like, the stuff that you sweep under the rug and, like, how everything, the further you look, has something gross and disgusting about it. There is nothing perfect and unique and great like the white picket fence America would have you believe. So he is constantly casting people that are really
controversial,
and un-Hollywood,
fringe.
The Patty Hearst thing is something that's just like not quite of our generation. Like you really can't stress how much this fucking took over America.
It sounds like something I should be Googling a 8-part documentary series on.
It's a rabbit hole you might enjoy.
Actually, I have a really great quote that I'm going to paraphrase that John Waters said in an interview. Somebody asked him what his greatest accomplishment was, and he said that it was that he made trash 0.5% better. He's like, so now when people watch trash, they have to stop and go like, wait, was that bad or good?
You really made us all reconsider trash. Oh, that's
not
great.
that he's made people like trash, but just that they've had to pause on trash.
Wait a minute. I can't tell if this is garbage or if this is wonderful.
And we're better people for it.
Yeah. So how would you rate Serial Mom?
I thought it was really fun and, quirky and camp and a great, once a year Mother's Day watch. I'm really glad we watched it during the day. Normally we watch Nightmare on Film Street movies at night. We're big on ambiance and turning off all the lights and making it moody and spooky. And this is a daytime dark comedy.
Yeah, right. So we took the right ambiance for this film.
It was perfect to watch during the day, and I could totally see myself back when we did family Sunday dinners, trying to hide from the family downstairs at 3 p.m. A little bit before dinner's ready, but the grandparents have already arrived because for them dinner starts at 3 p.m. And then watching this movie then. That's the perfect time. Yeah,
if your parents came in to check on you and just saw 30 seconds of this movie, they'd be like, they're watching something fine. And then you go right back upstairs. Oh, is that Kathleen Turner? Love it. Yeah, no, I don't know if you gave this a rating. I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 4.
I said 3 out of 4, I think.
Okay, yeah, my mistake. Yeah, no, I'm the big John Waters fan of the group, I think. If you're looking for more John Waters movies after this, Kim would love it if you would watch Cry Baby.
I love Crybaby.
It's pretty fucking great. It's got Johnny Depp in it. It's got Tracy Lords. Tracy Lords has a fun cameo in this movie, too. She's only in it for a 30 seconds.
And she makes the total Tracy Lords Crybaby face.
She fucking gasped when you saw her. You're like, oh, it's Tracy Lords.
I love her.
She's great.
She's so pretty.
Yeah, and then also, I don't know, if you're not ready to go into his older stuff, first off, Polyester, not really his older, weirder stuff. It's super hilarious and Divine's great in it. Check out Cecil B. Demented. That movie's kind of made for people who like...
That one's really weird.
Yeah, but it's made for people who like Midnight Madness movies and cult movies. It's essentially a movie about a bunch of film fans that become terrorists, and it's got a baby Michael Shannon in it. It's great.
What would you say is your favorite John Waters movie?
Probably Polyester. I think polyester is my favorite.
Is that the one that came with the scent card?
It's the one that came with the Scent-O-Rama card. Yeah,
it's a good decision.
Yeah, that and Female Trouble and Multiple Maniacs are like tied for second, I think. Those are both. Like Female Trouble, you gotta watch.
Where do you put Crybaby?
Crybaby? Oh, that's tough. Crybaby's great. Man,
they sing.
They're all tied for like first and second. You know what I'm saying? Like they're all great. You'd have to break them up into eras. Like, what's your favorite black and white era of John Waters? So, like, what are your favorite Divine movies? What are your favorite studio movies? And then what do you think of A Dirty Shame? Which is a movie you had on DVD for a long time with Johnny Knoxville. How did I just pull that out of nowhere?
Why did I have that?
Again, see? You find these movies that your family owns and you don't know why they bought them. John Waters movies, the dirty little secret of every American household for the last 50 years.
Oh, boy. Let us know your thoughts on camp, on John Waters films, and what you thought of Serial Mom. If you yourself are a mom, have a happy Mother's Day. We hope you have some time off from your family to, like, have a bath and, like, get wine drunk or whatever you like to do.
Yeah, and hit them over the head with a ham or a turkey if they start bugging you too much.
Bone in.
You can follow us on Twitter at NOFS Podcast or chat with us in the Nightmare on Film Street Discord at nofspodcast.com/Discord. While you're at it, please give the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, wherever you're listening to this. It's a free way to support the show, and it really helps. It really helps us grow in the charts.
Nightmare on Film Street is independently made and produced by John and myself. We do all of it. If you want to throw us a few dollars, you can join us on Patreon in our Fiend Club. We release a ton of bonus content there. Episodes. We have a watch party coming at the end of the month. That is at nofspodcast.com/Fiend Club. You can also support us by grabbing a really cool t-shirt. We have Nightmare on Film Street t-shirts. We also have a bunch of just like random, really cool horror merch. If you like, obscure quotes that only you and one other person that you make eye contact with at a horror convention would understand.
The easiest way to make a friend is to have as a really niche t-shirt.
And you can check out those at store.nofspodcast.com.
We'll be back at you again next week, but until then, I'm John.
I'm Kim. Stay creepy.
It appears you made it out alive, but we'll get you next time. Help us to grow the horde. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you subscribe. More terror can be found lurking on our website, nofspodcast.com. Until next time, stay creepy, fiends.